Hello, Earthlings. I'm Ian.
And I'm Sven, and we are Heads in Jars, playing Nazi zombies and talking about your world.
Wants media power and control for his own self-interest and his own financial interests and his own ability to influence things. If you think, it makes me laugh when you think about the idea of, first of all, they all act like victims. Elon's always on some victim thing that someone's
Yes, thank you. Someone else said it too.
out to get. And when the world's richest people whine and moan about how they're victims, how they're misunderstood, how they don't have the thing, when they have got the power and the influence and the money over everything in their own business self-interest, something has gone desperately wrong with what we are. We have an idolatry of innovators that it has become undeserved for these people.
Yes, because most of the people that are creating amazing products that you see represent or presented by Apple, by Samsung, by Google, by Meta, whatever, by SpaceX. Great example. No part of that rocket did Elon Musk design.
No.
Thankfully, because it actually flies.
Yeah, real people are behind all these innovations.
Real people with real educations and real sweat and blood and tears and hard work and dedication and passion for something other than themselves as well. Let's not forget about that. People that are working for SpaceX are doing it not because it's the best way to spend their time to make as much money as possible. No, they love exploration and science and stretching the bounds of human knowledge.
Yeah.
Elon Musk, that's the only thing I'll say about him. He did let SpaceX innovate without his overarching control. People smarter than him there made sure that they could keep going. I don't know how much day-to-day control he has, but I swear to God, the engineering, thank God, is not in his hands.
About their men. They're just all about their money. Every single thing leads to some financial.
Okay, Dean, you respond, then I'll come to Dave after you.
Right. Quick thing, Piers. First of all, today you called Elon Musk a genius.
Yeah.
Yesterday I watched his show. You called him a genius numerous times. He's not a genius. Piers, you are a genius.
He is a genius.
I say that he's not a genius. Look, it's my first time on the show. I'm just kissing up to you. I do think you're a genius in certain ways. You've had success on different platforms. Elon Musk, my friend, is a cancer to democracy. That's what he is. His goal, and I challenge everyone watching, Google Elon Musk and criticism of China. And what you'll find is article after article about, well, Elon Musk refuses to criticize the Chinese leadership. Even Steve Bannon, the philosopher king of MAGA, just said Elon Musk's paymaster is China. Vivek Ramaswamy said in 2023 that Elon Musk is a circus monkey. That's his word, a circus monkey for China. You know, you just have Elon Musk block a budget deal, according to Democrats in Congress, because they had a provision banning investments in China. And Elon Musk wants to build a battery factory and AI storage plant there. Elon Musk's biggest factory outside of the U.S. is in Shanghai. 50% of his cars come from China. This man's all about the money. That's why Piers, he goes after Keir Starmer and Nigel Farage.
But I would say this though. In response to that, I would say you can be all about the money, but you can also come from inherently a good place, right, in your heart. And the reason I say that is I look at what he's. Well, let me just present the argument. You can respond.
Not Elon. I'm going to agree with them, but I am very curious how he is going. What insight he's going to give us into Elon Musk's heart.
Yes.
Wow me.
What he's done with Starlink, what he's done with Neuralink.
Starlink, bring internet to hard to reach areas. Satellite internet. The principle of it, I agree with. I like more people being connected and informed. I'm okay with that. I don't necessarily like that Elon is the one that controls it and can shut it off when he wants to. Like, oh, Ukraine, sorry, you can't use it all of a sudden. That's the part that I run into.
What he's done with Tesla, what he's done with all these...
Tesla's cars are ugly, poorly made, way too expensive.
They were way better at the beginning.
Yes.
I mean, but I will give, though, you still have some pretty good safety.
But, yeah, and the technology behind them and stuff is cool. I just think it's very capitalistic, where every single car is installed with the same battery pack, and you pay to unlock the range inherent in that battery pack.
Yeah, that's just stupid.
I really don't like that at all. Like, if you want to make it tiered, make it so that trim levels are tiered, like fucking normal cars are. Like, if you're gonna have the same powertrain in every single car, then separate them in some other way.
Yeah, like how pissed off would you be if you bought a Honda Civic and be like, oh, it's a V10 engine, but you could only use 4 cylinders, unless you pay to get the rest of it.
But why you are going to be lugging around the weight of the other cylinders that you're never going to be allowed to use.
Yeah, exactly. So it's highway robbery.
That is bullshit.
Things. What really is motivating him? Yes, to make money, but also actually to save the planet. You could argue from itself.
That's what he says. Why do you listen? Why do you believe him? What evidence has he shown you that he actually cares about the planet, the environment? If he actually cared about the planet, he would work on investing into the planet.
Not getting to Mars.
Yeah, like he's so obsessed with the world, with humanity being a multi-planetary species. He's so convinced that humans can't survive unless we expand out. While you may be scientifically, science-fi future-y sort of true, like there's plenty of sci-fi that deals with that kind of stuff, the way it stands right now, humanity technologically can't get out of its own way here, and it sure as hell can't get us to Mars to create something that we can actually live in and sustain. Like, yeah, there may be 6 people living on Mars in a few years, sure. That's not a fucking colony, and they can't sustainably live there, and you can't bring other people there, and even if you could bring other people there, how many millions of trips would it take to bring enough people there to say it's an actual civilization on Mars?
And then to go even further, the people, let's say you do establish a working functional colony on Mars, the people born on Mars are stuck on Mars. You can't actually bring them back to Earth because of the difference of gravity. You will run into a whole lot of problems. And that's just one physical aspect of being born on Mars or spending long times on Mars. There's so many technological...
And we literally have never studied human growth in microgravity for good reasons. Because when you grow other things in microgravity, they do funky, weird, unexpected things. Now, if you do that to a plant, that's probably acceptable ethically. You start breeding babies in zero gravity to see what happens, all of a sudden, you're ruining a life. Now, Mr. Pro-Lifers Republicans should be against that.
Yes.
I mean, I sat with him for a couple of hours in the summer, listening to him talking about why we have to colonize Mars and humanoid robots sort of thing. And of course... part of it is he's going to make himself even richer. He admitted that. But also, I just got a feeling of a guy who genuinely thinks the planet is eating itself alive.
Yeah, we have destroyed many parts of the world. The ecosystem, the environment, species have fallen in the name of progress. I haven't met Elon Musk, so I can't comment on what he seems like, if he seems to be genuine or not in private.
Yeah.
You know, we only see a curated view of Elon, whether that's his curated view of us, contrasted with what other news outlets and journalists report on him. That's all we really see. But from what I can glean from what he does and does say and what he actually uses this platform for, the altruism that you claim that he's exhibiting may be more of a facade than... And it hasn't been thought well through. Resting all of humanity's hopes on Mars is laughably stupid.
Yes.
And people like him have to save it. Now, you might not agree with it.
No, Piers, there's one thing. Let me tell you. I think that's true. He does have those interests. And I've probably done more interviews with him than anyone else, long form. Not anymore. We don't speak. But one of the things that it has occurred to me over the many years is he doesn't want to just save humanity. He thinks he is the savior of humanity.
Yes.
In one interview that we did when Tesla was on the ropes and was actually getting money from the federal government, he said, if Tesla doesn't survive, humanity is doomed. And
wow.
I thought that was an unusual and disturbing thing to say.
What do you say?
If Ford fails, humanity is doomed. Yep. If McDonald's goes bankrupt, humanity is doomed, guys.
Yeah.
He said if Trump didn't win, I think humanity was doomed.
Yes, he's very dramatic. He's a bit of a drama queen in many ways.
Yeah.
I think he thinks, and one time we did an interview, he thought we all live in a simulation, which I thought was interesting.
Which, by the
I've made that joke before too. I mean, you can make the hyperbolic argument. You can cherry pick events and say, look, this looks like it was all planned and a simulation. And how could, it's just like saying God clearly exists because the human eye exists. Like, you can say that, and it's funny.
And simulation theory, honestly, is not that far-fetched when you just contrast it with the way humanity has always viewed itself in the guise of religion. That's basically a simulation theory, just with a supernatural event to it.
Yeah.
Simulation theory in modern times is just a tech event, basically.
Yeah, they're even
they're
saying
the same.
back in the day, they're saying even now God has a plan for you, trust the plan, whatever. And that's we're living in God's simulation. He's got a plan for us, which means that He's controlling events for our benefit or not. Yeah, you're right. I never thought about it, but it's like the tech bro God simulation kind of crap. Yeah, no wonder Elon thinks that. I think it's funny, and I think it's a funny thought experiment to go down.
Yeah.
Talking philosophically is a good exercise in critical thinking.
Indeed.
The way we might. How do you know we don't?
Well,
I hate those. I mean,
Stupid question.
I know he's the moderator. How do we know we don't? You can't prove that you don't do so. I can't prove that God doesn't exist.
I wish she would just retort, be like, I want you to prove that your Catholic God exists.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
You can't
Prove that we live in a
simulation.
simulation.
Then what's this question for?
The burden of proof is on the person that makes the allegation, not the person that says the allegation isn't true.
Yeah.
Like in courtroom, the allegation is on. The burden of proof is on the prosecution to prove that the defendant is guilty. In this case, Piers Morgan has the burden to prove that we're in a simulation. She does not have the burden to prove that we aren't in a simulation, because you can't prove and disprove a negative.
And then, but look at all three of the fuckers' faces. They're all smiling because they're all just like, oh, look, Pierce got such a good own. Look at that.
Oh my god.
You see?
There's no... Oh, I hate that. That's so gross. It's so gross. Yeah, scratch out your eyeballs.
You don't.
well, it feels like it every day. It feels like it
Cara,
every
you and
single
I have no idea if we're even really here.
Some teenager of the future is fucking with all of us. I get it. I get that.
Zagnor.
And they're just playing a video
might not
game
be
now.
in the day.
Now, Amazon funds Melania's movie. Now, this you could just see them just doing things
Yeah.
like this.
All right. I want to bring
and
in Dave because he's been very patient.
But
Let
let
me-
me say, I think he
Cara,
thinks
finish.
he's ready. He's a big video game proponent. He's very good at video
Yeah.
games, by the way. That is one thing I think he's quite good at. He thinks he's
Which is not unique.
Yeah, no.
I hope he doesn't think he's like uniquely amazing at it.
He probably
Ready
does.
Player One, and the rest of us are NPCs. Is that right? And
Yes.
non-player
Characters.
whatever characters. We are all NPCs in the world of Elon Musk in his brain in some fashion. So that's
He actually said, in fact, let me get the exact wording of this, because he posted to me yesterday, Piers' brain hasn't received its software update yet.
well. My heart is seething with hate, so that's better. That's better, I guess.
Dave Smith, Elon Musk, a force for good or bad or a bit of both?
Well, I'm sure he's a bit of both, like everyone else. I don't look. I try not to get into this like game of psychoanalyzing what people's motives are. I'm sure I'm guilty of it at times too. Look, obviously there are conflicts of interests, and there are, Elon Musk is going to have his own incentives, which is true for every rich, powerful, donor. It's the way the American political system is set up, whether or anyone on the panel likes it or not. We weren't choosing between no influential donors or Elon Musk. We were choosing between, George Soros and Miriam Adelson. I mean, that's just the reality of the situation. I think that Elon Musk, by buying Twitter for $44 billion, which certainly it's going to be pretty tough to convince me that was motivated financially.
He was forced to do it. He made a joke that had enough legal basis that they had to sell it to him, or that he had to buy it.
Yeah.
Like the judge was like, nope, you entered in this agreement. You can't pull out now. Sorry.
Yeah.
Like he was doing it for the lols.
Yeah.
And
If
got
he-
cell phoned.
Yeah.
Whoops.
think that was like the best money-making scheme, but I think by buying
He's
Twitter
done very
and by
well
making
with it. He's done very well.
Well, he's done
Maybe.
well as an influence peddler.
We don't know how much money he's lost or anything.
Exactly.
Well,
It's
okay,
been a
so
very
that's
useful tool.
you're kind of stuck. Okay, well, you're kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place now, because that does seem to make him a genius, which you wanted to deny. But
I tell you,
I think he's a genius.
Dave.
If
I tell you,
Buying
You can-
Twitter does not make him a genius.
You can make intelligent decisions and not be a genius. You know, I mean, I'm sure, and there are people with Down syndrome who make the correct decisions. That doesn't mean that they're geniuses. They just like most of us, were difference engines, and they came to the correct conclusion.
Yeah.
on that one point, on the one point
He
about the
is
money.
a genius investor.
Well, let me tell
I
you
will
why he's a
give you
genius.
that.
He bought X, then he went all in on Trump. Trump wins, and just by Trump winning, his Musk's stake in Tesla made him $100 billion, which is more than twice the valuation that he paid for X.
But let me just say,
so that is business genius.
Tesla's car deliveries are down, which is astonishing.
Of course, but again, I would say that's a form of genius. Dave, finish your point.
Others would.
Well, look, I mean, the broader point and the reason why Elon has gained so much like hardcore support over the last couple of years is just, again, it goes back to the stuff that we were talking about at the beginning. He bought Twitter, excuse me, and promised to make it a free speech platform. Now, by the way, my biggest criticism of him is that he's fallen short of that goal, and there are still people who are censored. There are still people who are kicked off, and I don't think he's done a great job of making the rules very clear and then applying them equally across the board. But there's just no question that for so many of us, this was the big fear over the last 8 years, was that we could be silenced. We wouldn't be allowed to speak up and tell the truth as we see it anymore. And he protected a lot of us, or at least gave us the feeling that we're much more protected than we were back then. Yeah. And so that is going to get like people like me and Tim, who are people who were, let's just say, we were saying a lot of the things that put you at risk of being censored over the last few years.
I would say...
And it's not a small thing.
Yeah, no,
good for you.
Golf clap.
Get into Greenland in a moment, whether it should be...
bloody hell.
Which is, I can't believe I'm saying that. But before we do that, Tim, I mean, it seemed to me, when they banned Trump from social media, but they still allowed the Ayatollah of Iran and Putin and the head of the Taliban to have accounts, right there was the absurd double standard of what they were doing.
Okay, well, yeah, I'll give you that.
That is kind of funny, the comparison between the Ayatollah and Trump being the same. There's probably not that much of a difference between them when you think about it. But if Trump should have been banned, the Ayatollah should have been banned.
Yeah, and I don't think Trump should have been banned because of what he was still POTUS, and I'm like, I don't know, like. That when you occupy that space
doesn't mean you get free reign to say whatever you want. They are still private companies, and if he violated their community rules in terms of service in a way that would get any of us banned, then he should have been banned as well. Now, I'm not going to.
He actually did, though.
I don't know, and I wouldn't be surprised if he said plenty of inflammatory, racist, crazy, batshit.
Yeah,
stuff.
But they banned him because of J6. And that's a lot more.
So they banned him because he incited an insurrection at the Capitol. Well, that seems like a pretty violent, hateful thing to do.
But you actually can't say that he incited a violent insurrection at the Capitol because that's an opinion statement. I mean, you can say it, but it is an opinion.
Well,
there's no legal basis for this. So, no, I mean, like, because he was never convicted of any of these things. He was, I mean...
Well, that's mostly because of a completely incompetent attorney general refusing to go at any modicum of speed to prosecute, to investigate.
Okay, that's all of
the Jack Smith... all of the Jack Smith evidence right now, Eileen Cannon blocked it.
Yeah.
If there was nothing there, then we should all be totally free to read it because he's clearly the most innocent guy in the world.
Well, no, yeah, but like... but all these...
Just because he hasn't been prosecuted. I haven't been prosecuted for anything either.
But none of his cases, though, even have to do with J6.
The entire Jack Smith stuff is documents relating to...
Well, but not to, like, the charge of insurrection.
True.
So,
but whether he's convicted of it or not, or if charges are brought, I mean...
Well, no, it would make...
Does that change whether he said hateful... inflammatory things on Twitter that got people to rise up? That he said that we should all let's protest on January 6th. Let's take our nation back. Stand by, be prepared. All these things are super duper obvious. Like on January 6th, go.
Oh, I agree, but I also disagree because like I don't think like incitement is one of those, like we've had many conversations where like I think incitement is a very tricky charge, but
again, Facebook has no burden to follow whatever the laws for incitement are.
No,
if Facebook chooses to remove them because of their political views, that is actually within their rights, whether I agree with it or not. I agree with you. I don't think that he should have been taken off. It made it look like it gave him more of a martyr complex.
Yeah.
If anything.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it inspired him to start his True Social crap even more and make money off of that and continue his snowballing grift.
But Elon does that too. Elon does that too.
No, I'm not saying he doesn't do that to a degree.
He forces you to watch him.
Listen, I'm not saying by any means he's without
stop
blemish.
pretending he doesn't use it.
But nor should we. No, but Cara, nor should we pretend that the Liberals, when they were in charge of the train set, weren't doing ridiculous things.
I'm saying the le roi c'est moi. He does whatever he feels like, and by the way, he should. He owns it.
Yeah.
But let's not pretend he doesn't. When he's in India, he does a different thing than when he's in Venezuela.
I agree. And the silence.
Yes, but there's a difference in scale and kind between that.
Because it's him.
Well, hold on. Well, let me finish the sentence. Instead of just cutting me off, that's obviously not what I'm saying, and I'm not friends with Elon Musk. I've never met the guy. I'm not like saying anything. There is a difference between the fact that, yes, you're right, it's not a perfect free speech zone. I just made that same criticism of him. But there's a difference between that and what was done through the COVID years, where people were straight up, people were censored for telling the truth. They were censored for telling the truth about enormous changes in society.
It's true. I'm afraid.
Well, okay. People might have been censored for telling the truth that we now retroactively understand to be the truth. But during the time, you were talking about an extreme. That would be honestly, it would be like getting pissed at the government for arresting one person for saying something really inflammatory the day after 9/11. You're in extraordinary times. Mm-hmm. No one knows actually what the fuck is going on. Of course, 9/11, not millions of people died. It was a lot smaller than COVID and shit like that. But you had millions of people dying through COVID and crap like that. Yeah, all over the world. And you're retroactively looking back on people figuring out the science and people talking horse shit.
Yeah, you're using your hindsight bias to justify principles that or positions you took with no information 5 years ago, basically.
Yeah.
I'm afraid the censorship that was going on was completely outrageous.
But it's a private platform. This is this is not a government entity. It is.
It is a private platform.
Very involved.
But that doesn't mean you're immune to criticism. Look, Tim, we've only got a few minutes left. I do want to get into whether America should be invading Greenland.
The chief counsel of Twitter was having regular meetings with the federal government, being advised on what to remove, and both X, at the time Twitter, and Facebook operated back doors, which we got to click, and we got to actually load up the login screens trying to do this, and we all got the emails from the Eric Berenson lawsuit showing that they were regularly saying, we're flagging this for removal, and everybody knows when the federal government comes to you and says, we're making the suggestion, wink,
But we know that 90% of those suggestions weren't followed through on. So,
the Twitter files revealed
So
this.
once again, facts don't support your feelings.
And the Panama Canal.
We know it's not.
No, you don't know that.
Tim, should America, before we run out of time, should America be seizing Greenland?
No, obviously not.
Yeah.
God damn.
Dumb question.
This shouldn't even be an argument. If Trump hadn't brought up this nonsense to detract from all the other horrible things that he's probably plotting behind the scenes, this is laughable. What are we even talking about? Why are we giving this air?
Well, it isn't necessarily completely out of the blue because he did try to buy Greenland on his first term.
I know what you mean. Is again huge air quotes.
I know what you mean, but
he's so fixated. He must have seen a Mercator projection and thinks that Greenland is half the size of the United States. It's fucking tiny. It's it's not tiny. It's a decent sized landmass, but I think he must imagine it's the size of India or something. or I don't know what he's thinking. Maybe Tim Pool has a direct line to Trump's brain. Maybe he can explain why
fake outrage over Donald Trump trying to trade negotiate control of certain regions. I think war is bad. I think territorial gains should be handled through beneficial trade between all parties. If the U.S. government, through Donald Trump, goes to Greenland and offers the people of Greenland
That's not how territorial gains ever happen. You never trade away because of an economic policy. You lose or you gain land through war. That is...
the Louisiana Purchase, by definition, was a purchase from France because they needed to finance their wars.
So...
and Russia sold Alaska to the United States because they needed money for their own civil war, basically.
Yeah, okay.
But those weren't these
weren't
are
taken
taken by force.
But
they are huge exceptions, like literally huge land masses.
Yeah, but for the most part,
territory is conquered.
Yeah, you can name 2. If I could name 10 other places right now, and I doubt you can name 8 other places on top of these things that were bought in the same time that I could name.
California was bought from Mexico.
10 okay, fine. You got okay, so now you have 3.
We stole a bunch of land in America.
Well,
that's technically, I guess you call that conquest.
Yep.
Yeah, I can't think of anything else off the top of my head.
Yeah, because it mostly happens through
great
war.
Deal that improves their lives. I don't see why that's a
People of Greenland? You mean the citizens of a sovereign nation? Are people of Greenland a really great deal?
problem for anybody. The
To
Panama
become
Canal,
a part of the
I mean,
United
we built
States
it.
and
There's
not remain citizens of Denmark like they already are? How does becoming a part of America improve Danish lives?
Yeah, and he's like, he has such a huge problem with illegal immigration and shit like that. Let's just dump millions of people into the voter bloc,
right?
And
who have a very
liberal view of everything. And are they going to become the 51st state? Are you going to break Greenland up into 5 different states? Like what? Are
they all going to have to learn English?
Yeah.
Or are we going to have to learn Icelandic?
Yeah.
Or Dutch or whatever, or Danish? I mean,
about what it's being used for, it's falling into disrepair. I don't like the idea of military force. That's insane. But if Trump goes there and says, look, we're going to offer you X amount of dollars in investment, we're going to grow the region, it's going to be good for you, good for me, that sounds awesome.
Yeah, Dean, I mean, is there any, I mean, I think the...
But if that's what he said, then that would have been normal. Like, yes, we're going to invest in the Panama Canal to get it back. That would have been okay. It's not what he said, though.
He said, I cannot rule out military or economic problem, whatever term that was used to get what I want.
So it's once again his sycophants sane washing the crazy shit that he says.
The problem was Trump didn't rule out military force, which was, I think, an overreach to put it mildly. But in terms of, I didn't know much about Greenland and the Panama Canal's history. When you actually look into it, I saw John Fetterman talking about it. He seems to be a voice of common sense amid all the partisan shrieking these days. But actually, when you look at it, there's a perfectly sound argument why America might want to take territorially Greenland if they were up for it, and the Panama Canal.
Take your
First
word.
of all,
take.
with Greenland,
Negotiate.
If Trump was looking,
hang on, Carl, I will come to you.
If Trump was looking for an island to take, I would recommend Aruba. I go there every year. It's really warm. It's nice. I won't have to go through customs. I hate to make it selfish. But that would be start with Aruba. We'll go from there. Look, with Greenland, the idea. Let's remind Americans, we bought Alaska from Russia in the 1800s, right? If we made a deal with the people of Greenland, because they have the right to choose their way, and they wanted to join America, become a state, and we can work a deal with Denmark, I have an idea, Piers, that can actually work. You make Greenland a state, Puerto Rico, and D.C. a state, all 3 at the same time. That's a deal. You'll get Democrats on board. We expand the Senate, 2 Democratic senators from each state, probably. Democrats will control the Senate going forward. I love this idea. Wrap it up. Here's, I think I solved it all.
Nice.
Yeah, and Dave Smith and Tim Pool are just like, fuck you. Their faces.
Because I guarantee you, they're like, oh my God, that would actually probably happen because I guarantee you that people of Greenland are not super fond of Tim Pool and Donald Trump. I don't think that they would all vote en masse. They're way too northwestern European. You're talking about
the cradle of the European socialism.
Oh man, I love their faces. Yes. Let the hate flow through you, Tim.
Yeah.
Let it shrivel your penis in
Greenland was for Kamala Harris 83 to 13% or something like that, some number.
But Cara, did you even? Cara, did you? Cara, be honest. Did you know, Cara, that Denmark owned Greenland? Because I didn't.
I did not know that.
Does it matter?
But here's the thing: they're looking for rare earth minerals there.
Yeah, it actually doesn't matter because that is actually your own ignorance because you assume that something just because it's called something doesn't mean that these people are governed by the same people. Like, yeah.
Yeah, and just because you're ignorant of who owns that territory doesn't mean that makes your argument that we should take it valid.
Because in that respect, that means any person should have a legitimate claim on Puerto Rico, because we own it, but we don't give them representation, and we just kind of treat them as a vassal state. Like, you can flip this around on multiple U.S. territories that are not states. That
Although
we currently...
Puerto Rico has had the opportunity to vote on statehood and have themselves not voted to submit to being a state. So it's
true.
There's about half the island doesn't give a shit.
Or Guam.
Yeah. I don't think
Guam's a territory that definitely never got a chance.
I don't
to
think they've
vote.
ever had a referendum for that. Yeah.
That is, and military installations. That's what's happened. Again, I always go to business. I'm like, what's the actual business? And there are rare earth minerals there that are necessary. As usual, Trump, who likes it feels like a game of Risk for Dummies. Like, I'm going to take it. I'm going to take it. It's fine to do those deals, Tim. If they want to negotiate them, people should have their own self-interest in mind and stuff like that. But he just likes to throw in these dumb, I could take it militarily.
Which, yeah, we could. If we wanted to.
The United States could take that territory. Could we hold it against the rest of NATO pissed off at us without inflating a giant fucking world war? No. And is Greenland worth a world war? Really?
I think a better question is, would NATO actually try to go to war with the United States? Because that's how I'm more...
If America invaded, I think yes. I think they'd be like, this is it. Like, we thought it wouldn't happen, and it happened.
I'm not so sure about that one, honestly. Like,
let's hope we never find out.
Yeah, I never want to fucking find out, because NATO's been a good stabilizing force around the world, and every country who has joined NATO since its inception has been dramatically better off.
Yes.
So let's not...
Including the United States.
Yes.
If I wanted to. Like, it's so inane to do that. If you want to do a good deal, you don't send your son to take photos with your little jackets with your names on them in green. It's such a circus. And the only thing that is the circus about it is, you have a state like California burning, like having very significant wildfires at the time. It makes us look so stupid. Just say we want the rare earth minerals and we want a military base for our subs because we want to counter the Russians. And over in Panama, we need that. It's a critical thing, and we need it in good shape. Just say it instead of.
Well, you have to be fair. He did phrase it collectively as these
for
would
the
be
military.
Well, yeah, but he did. I think that was a misstep. But he did say that this was all for America's security. He said it would be improved by having both, and there is an argument, indisputably, that he's right.
Absolutely fine, but at the same time, misstep is a nice way of saying, like, why do that? Why create? Why not be very straight? I think politics in the future should be straightforward with the people. We want to do this, and put it out as good ideas versus to create. Everything
Have
is
you
to create
seen Trump?
noise.
I think you know what. I want to bring Dave Smith in. I want to bring Dave in. Because the truth is that Trump is a bit like his 60% tariffs for China. Nobody actually expects him to level 60% tariffs. He's taking a battering ram to get what he really wants. And it may be with Greenland. He's just letting it breathe for a bit. That America may invade the place.
Oh, of course you're not going to invade Greenland. Why are you defending his ridiculous statements by saying that it's not going to happen? Because they're outrageous means that it's okay that we can wash it away, we can wipe it away. No, this is how democracies die, by saying this is too absurd and it would never happen.
Yeah. I mean, like, before Pearl Harbor, anyone who said, let's round up a boatload of Japanese and put them in concentration camps would have said, no, that's a ridiculous idea. That's never going to happen. Until it does.
Yeah.
So that's a stupid argument.
Of course he's not going to invade Greenland, but he wants people to be a little bit twitchy. So when he comes with a nice little deal, they're like, you know what, I prefer that to an invasion. I mean, as coarse as it is, I suspect it's just Trump being Trump the negotiator.
You don't negotiate with the military behind you. I mean,
that's not negotiating anymore. That's strong arming.
Yeah, you're just straight up threatening these people. Do what I want, or else I'll nuke you.
It's like the Dennis method in Always Sunny in Philadelphia. It works because of the implication of violence.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's right. I think this is Donald Trump's art of the deal philosophy.
Yes.
That, like, why would I ever take coercion off the table if I have that in my back pocket? Why would I?
Because you are now the president of the United States. You are now a public leader that represents 350 million people. That's why you change your philosophies. You are no longer advocating on behalf of Trump Industries. You should not be. You should be advocating on behalf of the American people at large.
Yeah.
Start the negotiation by taking away my strongest overt play. The other thing is that, and look, we've lived through.
Ian, when you play chess, do you always go with the strongest, most aggressive strategy to accomplish your goal? Does that work?
Absolutely not. That is the best way to lose.
Yeah. Oh, but I don't think he probably conflates chess and checkers.
Yes.
Once before, right? Donald Trump was president for 4 years. Donald Trump says wild things that drive the
That embarrass the rest of the nation and erode credibility in the state and in the institutions and in its currency. Congratulations.
story, and then everybody's talking about the latest thing we have to say, and it's part of this, whether intentional or unintentional. This is part of how he floods the zone with constantly talking about Donald Trump. But if you're asking me sincerely what I think about this policy, I mean, I guess I wouldn't be much different than the rest of the panel. Negotiations and things like that are fine. The idea of any type of like expansionist military move is insane. And personally think we're way too big of a country right now, and the last thing we need to do is be absorbing more territories.
Yeah, people are so angry about immigrants and different cultures and different ideas flooding your safe spaces. You really haven't been to Europe very recently, very, very often, because the way that they think is fundamentally different than the way a lot of Americans think. And you really want Congress and legislation coming from the senators and congressmen from Iceland to influence what you do in Texas or in California?
Yeah, I don't think so.
How are you going to square that with your weird conservative mindset? And it's the same thing with Canada. I mean, okay, if Canada somehow weirdly voted to become the 51st state, I would be floored, but I would be kind of accepting of it. I'd be like, okay, there's at least a commonality of origin and a commonality of experience between Canadians and Americans.
That does not exist between America
and Iceland.
And Greenland.
Greenland, excuse me. Yeah, I want to say Iceland. The land part of it.
Yeah.
And the general geographic similarity, I mean.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think America has many very, very serious problems, and coming off of 20 years of disastrous terror wars and now the proxy wars in Ukraine and in Gaza.
All right, guys. No, Dave is absolutely wrong here. Ukraine and Gaza are not proxy wars. That is just... Russia invades Ukraine, not a proxy war. Gaza breaks out of their arguably concentration camp and attacks Israel, not a proxy war.
No, that is... A proxy war is two large nations who are unwilling to face off face to face need to support their ideologies globally. So they support a communist versus a...
Syria was a proxy war between us and Russia.
Vietnam, Afghanistan, the first Afghanistan, not the most recent one. Afghanistan in the 60s and 70s and 80s with Russia trying to control Afghanistan, the United States supporting the counter Russian forces. That is a proxy war. Yeah. You have to have ideology in between the two sides, being supported by two different sides. First, Russia just invaded Ukraine because it wanted it, not because of an ideological reason. There wasn't like a we must have communism down there and they're too free kind of thing, or vice versa. This was just, that's ours. I want it.
Yeah, I will use the guise of caring about Russian language speakers to invade this part of the country.
Like Hitler invading Czechoslovakia, just taking it because of German language speakers.
Yeah.
It's exactly the same thing, only,
even more removed because I mean, like the Allies were like, yes, we'll give you the Sudetenland, and then the rest of it was like, no, you leave the rest of Czechoslovakia alone. And then he's like, no, actually, I like this whole other region that has nothing to do with my people because it's nice.
Yes, it has resources and it gives us room.
Yeah,
his words, and not too far off from what Putin has said.
I think the last thing America needs to do right now is say, hey, what else can we take on? So, look, America is the global empire. We're the most powerful government in the history of the world.
I think British Empire at its height had controlled more territory and was wealthier than the United States is.
But, like, see, it's hard to 100% say this because, like, I mean, like, if you look at all our military bases around the world, I mean, okay, you were right. The occupation, the British colonialism, definitely controlled more landmass, and where they had control in their military and shit like that, that was the rule. We have a boatload of bases all over the world that don't actually like our bases in
Japan.
In Japan do not dictate Japanese law. So there is that part. Like, you are right on that part, but I would sort of counter argue maybe that, in the same way that the sun never set on the British Empire, the sun never sets on the American military empire.
That's true.
Because we are everywhere.
Force project anywhere in the globe in a moment's notice, yeah. And it wasn't really a serious comparison because the time frames separating the two vastly empires different. Make it so different. So the amount of control that England had was amazing for its time, and globally it did control a large swaths of the known world. And it was under their rule in a way that America can't say. You know, they don't own as much territory, and they aren't Americans in the same way they're British sovereign citizens. But also the way the government was set up in 1590 is very different than it's the way that governments are set up now, and the way that our militaries are set up, and our global networks of communication and satellites and just how much we know about each other at any given notice has changed things as well. So no, from a military standpoint, the United States right now has hegemony. From a cultural standpoint, the United States has a large deal of influence. It's not hegemony, but it's huge. Probably in ways that England couldn't compete with then because technologically it didn't exist. The globe wasn't as connected then.
Yeah.
But either way, yeah, his point's not wrong. I'm just kind of being argumentative.
Indeed.
Don't need to seize the Panama Canal in order to make sure that we can do business there.
Thank you. Yes, no, we do not need to seize that. We need to support it. We need to improve it. We don't need to seize more territory in the middle of South America.
No.
Or Central America, whatever.
There's lots of other ways that
you know what though. When I read that Jimmy Carter gave it away for $1, I think it was, in
but like, when you're talking about Jimmy Carter giving it away from $1, you have to look back at the century of history before that, when we, with the Monroe Doctrine, train wrecking all over the southern continent.
Yes.
And doing whatever we wanted, subjugating whoever we wanted, taking military control of the Panama Canal, digging it and stuff like that. And then after almost a century, finally giving it back to the native people.
As a token, what you're buying it for $1. This was more of a humanitarian gesture because Carter is more of a humanitarian. It's hard for you to understand that, Piers. I understand. You've lost touch with your humanity, but maybe you can find it again.
Well, Dean, I'm afraid we're running out of time. I just wanted to ask Carl one last question, which is this. Because I think you're the best person on the panel equipped to answer this. Many people believe it is a matter of when, not if, Elon Musk and Trump have a spectacular falling out. Do you agree?
Yeah,
and what timeline are you giving it?
Well, I just interviewed actually Maggie Haberman for an hour on the podcast, and we talked about that. And I definitely have been getting calls from Trump people who are at first were like, Elon's the best, Elon's so fantastic, and they're like, wow, he's strange, Kara, you were right, or he can be erratic and this and that. And they go, what do we do? What suggestions do you have? And I just say, good luck, and I hang up because I'm like, he's yours, he bought you. He broke you. That's how I feel about it. And she thought, and I think she's correct, Trump is irritated by his presence, and it probably will change once he gets to the White House. It's a very different thing. The question whether he gets a West Wing office, whether he gets one of those blue cards that allows you instant access, that's a good question. See what happens there. I think that she feels like Trump is a one-ring circus, and there's only one ringmaster. And he is irritated behind the scenes, and if you bother him in front of the scenes about it, he'll say he loves him. Because why not love the world's richest man who gave you all this money to help you get elected and was critical to that and can be used as a cudgel against other congressmen and everything else. I suspect there will be a breakup, and it will be spectacular, and we will have to endure it, unfortunately. Personally, I would like to get better characters in a new season of something, but probably in the end, it is a one-ring circus. I think Maggie's right, and her reporting is correct, that there is irritation, and in the end, Trump will prevail. in that regard. Although Elon will be still.
No.
He will. I've got to leave
I
it
feel
there.
sorry for none of these people. So.
I've got to say that was a brilliant panel. So thank
All
you
right.
very much indeed, and I wish you all.
Well, that was our coverage and criticisms, and we managed to spin 52 minutes into 2 hours and 21 minutes of. It's almost a boatload of outrage and a boatload of stupid shit.
And to the panel members, you know, I found some things that I agreed with. A lot of things I think were just awful. Tim Pool is exactly who I remember him to be. An idiot. Kara, I'm not familiar with her, but I did actually generally like what she had to say, and Piers Morgan was sort of just a annoying moderator, I guess, but in that role he did well.
Yeah, and this honestly was like one of the most ordered debates and panels that I've seen from Piers. A lot of the times they devolve into screaming matches between the panelists, and Piers is just like, no one can hear you if you're all yelling at each other. Stop yelling at it. Like he'll just go on and on and on because he likes to. Instead of moderating, he likes to just throw little bits of napalm onto the fire and just watch it explode. And you can see it in his face when it happens. He just gets this smug, kind of excited look in his eyes, and that little like upside down turned smile, like, "Oh yes, here it comes." The YouTube clips. So he's a master at that. But no, yeah. Tim was exactly what I expected. Tim, Kara. I've seen her in a couple other, I'm pretty sure on Piers Morgan before, so she's pretty much as I remember. I don't know that dude. I completely forgot his name already. And then Dave Smith was exactly what Dave Smith always is.
Dave Smith used a lot of words to say nothing. I can't actually remember many points that he made.
He's very malleable with his words.
Yeah,
let's put it that way. It's very cute. Like he can say a lot by saying nothing, or say a lot of words and say nothing.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, I thought it was very interesting. And guys, if you enjoyed this, let us know. We would happily do more of this because politics are definitely in our wheelhouse, and this is a little bit more of a long format than we've traditionally done.
And
but yeah, please let us know. Obviously, this is the gratuitous like, comment, and subscribe part of the video. Please do all those things. And comment for the algorithm. Tell us that we're 100% correct and stoke our egos.
yes, absolutely. Do that, and we will see you guys next time.